Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we're going to be making some pop art names. To do that, you're going to abstract your name or change it a little bit. We're going to be changing it by creating two big waves. No, that's a little tiny wave. I mean a big wave that looks like it could wash you away. It's got to have a big curve in that line. I'm going to draw two big waves, one near the top of my paper and one near the bottom. This divides my paper into equal thirds. So do your best to make it a little bit even. Then I'm going to clap my name out into syllables. Let's see, Miss Quick Saw. That fits into 3 syllables. So I'm going to stretch my name, Ms., my first syllable, and then Quick, my next one, and Saw. I'm stretching it to fit between the top and bottom of each of those lines. Not like that. We don't want to write in the middle of it, and you don't want to use lowercase letters. I'm making sure I'm using capital letters only and starting at the top of the wave and stretching it all the way to the bottom, almost as if it were made out of slime and you had to stretch it from the top to the bottom. So stretch your capital letters out, making them touch the top and the bottom, and make sure you're breaking down your syllables. Now, if your name doesn't have 3 perfect syllables, you have some options. You can include your last name, you could include your middle name, you could include both. Just make sure that you are breaking down your name to abstract a little bit. So if you happen to only have 1 syllable, for example, Joe, if I clapped that out, it's only 1. But then if I had a last name where it had 2 syllables, that would work perfectly to fit on all 3 lines. So make your name fit on 3 lines, even if you have to put a symbol in between. A symbol is something simple like a heart, a star, a smiley face, something that can break up the space or add to the space. So even if you ran out of lines, you could still break up your syllables by putting a space with a symbol in between them. So I could even fit 2 syllables on a line and just put a space in between with a symbol in it. So I'm going to fill in all that space with a couple symbols. Now notice I drew really big. It's important that you draw big, nothing really tiny today. So if your name did not fit vertically, there is the option to do it horizontally. However, this does not work as well for most artists. So make sure that you are breaking your name down. This would only work if your name was a little bit longer and you really wanted to make it fit horizontally. Maybe you had a last name that was long, but you wanted to fit it. That's when you could break it down on the horizontal direction. It has a little bit more room to include a longer name on one line. So I'm going to go ahead and start on my big paper now that I've had practice on my whiteboard. So after I practice on my whiteboard, I can either look at that and keep my plan up, or I can erase it if I think I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to be using an ink bottle. This ink bottle is permanent, so I want to make sure that I really plan it out. I'm going to plan by folding my paper into thirds. By meeting at the middle there, that just gives me an idea of where to put my lines. Now I'm writing my name and class code in pencil on the back. Now I get to start with that ink marker. I'm going to untwist the cap, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty to close. Then I have to wake it up. I'm doing this on a test paper to get it running. I always want to make sure that I'm pressing light like a feather and never squeezing or pressing hard on the ink bottle. When I do that, it makes a huge mess. So I want to, if that happens by accident, spread out that ink puddle and make it into a happy accident. Because ink is permanent, we can't throw out our papers, we can't get a new one, so if you accidentally press too hard or squeeze the bottle, you're going to have to make it into a happy accident. I start out by making those 2 giant wavy lines, and then I can start stretching my name out. I'm working from the top of my paper to the bottom. That way I don't get any ink on my arm. It makes the most sense to start at the top instead of at the bottom so I don't have to stretch over the wet ink and get it on my hands. It's important to try your best not to get it on your hands or your clothes because ink is permanent. So make sure that you are being extra careful not to squeeze or press down hard on the bottle. Then I'm going to fill all my space with my ink and stretch out my capital letters. If you have an ink accident, it happens. Sometimes we might press a little too hard or the ink just comes out randomly and it makes a little puddle. If that happens to you, do not pick up your paper. Leave your paper flat until it dries today. We will be leaving these on our tables until the end of class. So we can push them up into the shields a little bit to make sure that they're out of our way. So that way we have time and some space to draw or free draw on our sketchbook or whiteboards. And it can dry at the same time. I'm putting the cap back on my ink bottle and erasing my whiteboard and cleaning up my area. Now when it is dry, I can put it in the middle of the table. That's going to take almost the whole class, and that's something that you want to wait for Miss Q to check on. So leave it on your table to dry as you move towards working on your free draw time or free choice if you finish early today. And then you're going to have some art wipes. These art wipes are on your table so that you can clean up your area and any ink spills or ink that went through the paper that you might need to clean up. I'm just going to get one out of the container and then wipe my hands and my table clean. And now I'm good to go. If ink gets on you a little bit, it does come out of your skin with just some hand sanitizer. We don't need to go to the sink and wash our hands. All you need to do is get hand sanitizer, rub them together, and it will eventually go away. All right, my awesome artists, I cannot wait to see your abstract pop art names. Have fun!